Over the past 50 years, Coronation Street has brought us some of television's most explosive storylines. Its impressive use of stunts and special effects has created unforgettable moments of comedy.
It was like a fun fair ride. It was like something at Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
And tragedy.
I couldn't think of a better way of leaving a show. It was just the perfect ending for me.
Over the next half hour, we'll hear from the cast and crew who were closest to the action.
There was an explosion. It came out into the street. When it happens, it's for real.
Is she okay?
We'll see how dramatic storylines like these came about and sent shockwaves through the community of Weatherfield.
Everybody really pulled together and it highlighted what a special place it is.
As we tell the stories behind the stories. From 5 decades of the Corrie years. November 2004, and Ella MacArthur begins her latest attempt at breaking a world record.
Yeah, trying to get this boat around the world in under 72 days, 22 hours, 54 minutes and 22 seconds is going to be a massive achievement.
Christmas comes early at Buckingham Palace as Fathers for Justice stage another protest. Meanwhile, in Weatherfield, Maya Sharma is about to unleash mayhem in one of the street's most explosive storylines ever. Maya was the thrill-seeking girlfriend of Dev Allahan.
Medical, I'm completely naked underneath this coat. How's your blood pressure now?
She wasn't safe. She definitely wasn't sound. But she was fun.
Dev?
Mm-hmm. And I think that he can kind of confuse that for love.
I've tried so hard not to do this to you.
But when Dev realised he loved someone else...
I love Sunita.
Maya didn't take the news too well and started plotting her revenge.
Well, just this morning you said you loved me.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Get off.
Everyone was throwing ideas around the table, and I said, well, Dev's got these 7 shops, why don't we just set fire to them?
I'd been in it for just over a year and I'd had a really great time, but when they put this sort of storyline to me, I thought, absolutely, yeah, if I'm going to go, that's the way to go.
A huge publicity campaign was launched, ensuring viewers knew that Maya's night of terror was absolutely not to be missed.
We had 9 episodes in 1 week, so we had an awful lot of material to do. So you think, you've got to do something really big to make the audience think, oh, I won't have my cocoa, I'll stay up again.
We had to find 3 or 4 different locations where we could actually rebuild a shop and then destroy it again.
The poor stunt guy, he was supposed to jump on this trampoline, go over the car. At the same time, somebody was supposed to be pushing this button to make the shop blow up behind him.
The timing of that was so crucial. The car actually saves his life because the car protects him from the blast from the explosion.
That's put him out. He had no eyebrows left, he'd lost all his, arm hair. He'd, proper gone through the wars, that one.
It's all right, I'm here now.
Maya's trail of devastation eventually led Dev back to Coronation Street and straight into her trap.
When I set fire to the shop, they built a completely different set so that it could go up in flames. To be the one who was allowed to be in there, setting the thing alight was very exciting.
If you look at it, you can actually see the camera going through the floors, which was wonderful. They spent a lot of time on that, a lot of thought and a lot of effort.
The fire was to trigger off one of the biggest explosions the Cobbles had ever seen.
It was really... it forced air out of my lungs. Everyone was kind of, oh, because it was huge. Actually being there was really, really shocking.
That was where the script ended originally, at that point there. And I remember saying to Tony, let's not end it there.
The more we talked about it as a group of writers, the more we felt, let's let the audience just begin to relax and then give them the one thing they would never expect.
I mean, how could you top that? I think it came to the perfect conclusion.
2010, and Tony Blair is called upon to give evidence to the Iraq War inquiry.
No regrets. Responsibility, but not a regret for removing Saddam Hussein.
Apple unveil the next big thing in technology.
We'd like to show it to you today for the first time, and we call it the iPad.
And in Coronation Street, a drive in the country is about to end in disaster for Tyrone and Molly Dobbs.
So he's out till 9. Can you get away?
Come hell or high water.
Molly!
Come in!
Unbeknown to Tyrone, Molly and Kevin had an affair. And Molly fell pregnant, and she was undecided whether it was Tyrone or Kevin who was the father.
Congratulations.
Cheers, mate. Who's the daddy?
Tyrone and Molly are off to see Diggory, Molly's father, to inform him that she's pregnant. And life is good as far as Tyrone knows. But Kevin had forgot to do some work on the car.
What's going on?
It's gone.
What has?
Ty's car.
He's been nicked.
The brakes. I hadn't finished the brakes. Look, have a look for me mobile, will you? Hurry up.
There was lots of driving scenes which I was allowed to do. They trusted me to do that. And a lot of them was done through countryside around Wilmslow and Hale area, and then the stunt itself was right up on the coldest hill in Macclesfield.
Finding a remote location was key to the success of the stunt.
It was quite important that it was in a desolate area. We wanted the car to turn over, and so therefore to do that you have to actually hide a bit of a ramp so that the driver can drive up this ramp and then get it into the spin and turn it over.
We use a thing called a pipe ramp that just flicks the car enough to start the inertia of the rotation. Although Alan's a very good driver, I introduced his stunt double, which is Rob Hunt.
I spoke to Rob, the stunt driver. I said, so, you know, what are your plans? And he said, well, I'm going to drive at 40 miles an hour and hit the ramp. And I was like, right, that's it. And he went, yeah, that's it. I'm just going to crash.
And action!
Once it's airborne, he's got no way of altering it, and we don't want to miss the camera because we've only got one chance.
Oh, here we go.
There was a camera put in the car.
Thank you!
It got a fantastic shot from our point of view of the car just, you know, and the mayhem of a crash. And then, cleverly, they edit it so it looks like we're in the car.
I don't half love you.
Love you too.
I mean it, though.
So do I.
I wanted to say.
What?
They did this fantastic shot where they was looking down through the window at me and Molly, obviously, on our sides. It wasn't nice, though. It wasn't comfortable. We had to get in through the boot and crawl through everything. We had a space about this big where me and Vicky got, you know, real close. It was like, I love you, all right, yeah. And it was all a bit awkward.
Mom. Molly. Molly, wake up, please. Molly. You just stay. I'll be 2 minutes. I'll be back, I promise.
We did have firemen actors, but it was the ones who were in there doing the cutting were actually real firemen.
It was fantastic to watch them do what they do. They save people's lives for real.
Molly and her unharmed baby were cut free from the wreckage, and Tyrone remained none the wiser about the affair.
I love you more than anything in this world.
You go in the ambulance, mate. I'll follow in the truck.
Ended up with a few little cuts and bruises, but it was fantastic to be a part of.
Coming up, Spa night at the Battersbys ends in disaster.
Michael! No!
No.
And a big anniversary leads to the street's biggest ever stunt.
The most dramatic event the street has ever had was the 50th anniversary.
These days, we're used to seeing amazing stunts on Coronation Street. But how did it all begin? Ever since the 1960s, stunts and special effects have provided spectacular backdrops to some of the show's most gripping storylines.
Unlike now, where stunts come every 5 seconds in soap opera, back in the 1960s they were a rare treat. And it meant that the characters were brought together in a very dramatic way. There was a chance to kill somebody off or have someone's life hanging in the balance.
Technology is just brilliant now, but in the early days, like when we had the bus crash in the Lake District, the actual crash, you didn't see it because they couldn't do it. They had to actually cut away when the main thing happened.
By the time 1975 arrived, and Margaret Thatcher took charge of the Conservative Party, and Queen recorded their biggest ever hit, Coronation Street celebrated its 15th anniversary year with its most ambitious blaze to date.
You're a fag, Kev? Yeah. Come on, we should be out of here. It's nearly 8.
We've got plenty of time.
3 naughty schoolboys, they played truant from school. They'd had a cigarette in the part of the warehouse, and they'd left the cigarette. And, of course, it smouldered away until everybody came into work.
You'll be ended up like one of them on Johnny Go Home, you will. Better than being called bonkers inside this place.
The mail order warehouse was the workplace of many street residents, but one of them was about to clock off unexpectedly early.
One of the characters, Edna G, whose husband Fred became a much-loved character in Coronation Street afterwards, opens the door and whoosh!
Edna's colleague Tricia escaped the inferno, and for actress Cathy Jones, the real flames helped her performance.
You've got to believe that you are coming out of a fire. You've got to shake a lot and cough a lot and look absolutely terrible, because that's exactly what happened. It was a mammoth task to film that, because we were used to mainly indoor filming, and then to suddenly have this fire and fire engines and goodness knows how many cameras on them. It was a big, big deal.
I remember there was an explosion, came out into the street, and they tell you where you can and cannot be. It's for real.
The pyrotechnic's absolutely fantastic. I wanted a fireman's lift, but that wasn't in the script. I thought it would have been rather good.
The main consequence of burning the warehouse was the following year we could bring in London and Mike Baldwin, who bought up the site and started a denim factory, and a whole new era began.
You're in charge of that load of layabouts? I'm in charge of all the layabouts. I own the place. Mr. Baldwin? That's right, Jack. Mr. Baldwin.
2004, and London delivers its bid to host the 2012 Olympics.
All our ambitions, our hopes, our vision is in that file.
The Gherkin becomes the capital's latest award-winning landmark. And over in Weatherfield, a delivery at the Battersbys is about to cause a huge splash.
It's probably the one that everyone mentions to me more than anything else.
You know, everybody remembers it. It's kind of a landmark, and everybody seems to remember that scene.
Do you remember that time when the bath came through the ceiling? Yes, I sat in it for 2 days.
You bought this for me, haven't you?
Who else? It's a fizzy bath. It's a love.
Les presented her with the ultimate gift, a hydro bath that had been ripped out of a mental institution.
Oh, my back!
huge.
But the real problem with it was when it was switched on, you could hear it on Rosamond Street.
Problem?
It's just we're concerned about the noise and vibration.
It's our new world, Cole. Despite concerns from her neighbours, Scylla had no intention of pulling the plug on the love tub.
I've decided to decorate our new spa with a tropical theme. So me and Les are having a Hawaiian night to celebrate.
It was a lovely warm bath when we first got in and did the first few scenes. Drink, bit of pizza. It was a hard day at work.
Come on, let's have another blast.
But lurking round the corner was a hungry Great Dane who was about to cause big problems, on and off screen.
The main thing I do remember about that, though, was the dog, Schmeichel. We just couldn't get him to jump in the bath. We spent about half a day trying to get him to jump in,
Schmeichel!
you know, to make the bath go. And in the end, Anne, Schmeichel's trainer, they had to get me out of the bath, get Anne in her swimming costume, to sit in, to get him to jump in. And eventually he did, and you'd never know.
In my original pitch, being relatively new at that time, I just suggested there were cracks in the ceiling and that they'd had to have it removed. But the writing team got hold of it and said, oh no, you know, if you're going to do it, let's have it come right the way through.
Flipping X, that noise!
They'd actually built a second set, and we actually had a hydraulic lift that actually made the bath drop so it physically looked like we were going through the ceiling.
They just threw a bit of like sawdust in front of me for my shot, and I just remember I was there with a sausage.
It's my favourite cutaway of her going, oh dear, well, I still got my sausage. It's so Corrie in as much as, you know it couldn't really happen. But it was a really good scene, and I loved doing it.
December 2010, and Matt Cardle joins the race to be top of the Christmas charts.
It's fair to say that we're going to see the winner of the X Factor get the Christmas #1 again this year.
Thousands of protesters marched to Parliament Square as MPs debate student tuition fees. And Coronation Street is about to be torn apart with its most ambitious storyline ever.
The most dramatic event the street has ever had was the 50th anniversary.
5 months earlier, producer Phil Collinson had delivered some devastating news to the nation.
A tram is going to crash into Coronation Street.
People
are going to be killed. It's a big story.
The reaction was phenomenal. You know, it took my breath away. From the minute I stepped out of the studio, my phone was ringing. The press office went mental. Every newspaper covered it, and it began this feverish 5 months of speculation about, well, who was going to die that night.
No, Nick didn't say anything.
Well, he looked pretty desperate to me.
Kevin!
All of those stories that were twisting and turning all through that year was absolutely deliberate, the way that they crossed each other on that night.
Remember when they blew up the joinery? The explosion was completely sealed off, and we all actually sat in the medical centre, and we all literally sat around a huge monitor and we all watched it.
I tell a naughty story here. People were taken miles away and were watching it on television. I thought, this is a shame. So I snuck into the Barlows, where there's a little bay window there, and I suddenly thought, oh my God, I've got a glass window here in front of me. I don't know how severe this explosion's going to be. Fortunately, it didn't shatter the window there, but I was breaking all the rules.
The spectacular scenes that followed combined the use of a real tram with computer-generated imagery.
That moment that comes into the shop with our stunt performer playing the character of Molly was a real front end of a tram that we had on a vast winch that pulled it into a set that we'd replicated. We timed it so much, I think if she was just even a fraction later, she would have been. So I think if you watch closely, you'll see how close she really was.
CGI that they did then had to link in with the stunts that were real. So many special effects involved. It really was like being on a Hollywood film set.
The aftermath of the tram crash saw the departure of two of the street's best-loved characters.
Who is it?
Molly Dobbs left with a bombshell of her own.
He's cute.
And we also said goodbye to Ashley Peacock.
Well, I've got a false signal! It's a message from Claire!
It was absolutely awful in there because it was just full of dust. You know, he was coming out, spitting up black stuff. If you want to create an atmosphere like that, it's got to be like that. You know, you've just got to put yourself through it. They made it feel really real.
Get him out of here! Get him out of here! Grab him! Give me his hand! Ashley!
The very final scene where the beam comes down, that was actually my final scene on the street. So it was mixed emotions, really. You know, I'd been in the show just under 16 years.
Get off!
I couldn't think of a better way of leaving the show. It was just the perfect ending for me.
I'm not going without you! Let's go!
It was really comforting us going out an hero. I'd had a blinking good run, you know, and I've got a lot to thank the street for, and it'll always have a special place in my heart.
Tash is still struggling to accept that Matt's gone, and a photo of Louise's husband forces her to ask if her marriage really is rock solid. Just some of the difficulties faced in Homefront, next.